Well, guys, every lockpicker comes to the point to where they want to specialize in a lock. When they get to that intermediate or advanced level, they're looking for a new challenge. So a lot of guys go for the assembly, like the disc containers. Some specialize in the multi-lock series pin and pins. Other guys gravitate towards these little Medecos. This is a Medeco biaxial. You can see the symbol right there. And this is a little 4-pinner. I decided to talk a little bit about Medecos. I'm no expert, but like most of you, I've kind of tipped my toe into the Medeco pool to get a feel for these guys. And I've learned that there are really 3 ways to open the Medeco. The first one, and I've done some videos on this, is particularly on the 3-pinners and the 4-pinners, is you get yourself a little rake, and you can a lot of times rake them open by you're depending on 100% luck, and that's the truth. It doesn't always work. I would say your success rate is probably 20% at best. So you want to look for other ways. And the other way that I found is I went online, I found a permutation calculator that actually does a printout. I know that these pins in here have 3 possible positions. There are 4 pins. Do the math, 64 possible combinations. And I printed it out and I tried them one at a time. Each time you try one of those, it takes about a minute. So to pick this little 4-pinner takes a little bit over an hour if you have to try all 64 of those different combinations of pins. Not the most efficient way of doing it, because if you screw up somewhere along the line, you've just invalidated the whole experiment. The other way is to single pin pick it, and that's what we're here to talk about today, because that's what most of the questions seem to be about. So before I get into that, let's talk a little bit about these locks for those of you who really aren't that familiar with them. First of all, the Medeco pin is a little bit unusual. Instead of being pointed or angled like many of the pins we're familiar with, they're actually shaped like little wedges, and one side is a sharper angle than the other. And the reason for that is, and let's take a look at the key. By the way, this is not the correct key for this, but I just wanted to show you what the keys look like. So if you look at a normal key, obviously we've got cuts for the different depths, but Medecos are unusual in the fact that they have different angles as well. So those wedges have to fit down inside of these little grooves, and then the chisel point of that wedge will then get turned to fit at this angle. So raise it to the correct height, and then we call this a left turn. We're turning it to the left about 20 degrees. When we go to the next one, you notice we have to turn him about 20 degrees to the right. Third one, 20 degrees to the left, and then the last one, see if I can, he looks like he's straight, so straight across. So 3 possible positions, straight, left, or right. Those are the extremes. So the key has to be able to turn in addition to going to the proper depth. Let's take a look at the top of one of these pins. You notice from the top of it, you can see what I call the guide tip. It's a little tip that keeps the pin from over-rotating. There's a little chamber, and you'll see it as we go along. The pin keeps that little tip keeps the pin from over-rotating past about 20 degrees in either direction. You'll also see we've got some grooves on there. We have a false set groove. And you notice a false groove is about 1/4 of the depth of the real groove. That allows you to get trapped. It allows you to pinch the leg of the sidebar, which I'll show you in a moment, and it just kind of binds it up. You get stuck there, and there's not enough room in there for the leg of the sidebar to fit into to get it open on the lock. Let's take a look at the side of one of the pins. Again, you can see the same thing. You can see the guide pin, you can see the false gate, and then you can see the much deeper and much wider real gate. And that's because, next picture, the sidebar. The sidebar has little legs that have to fit inside of those wide grooves. Not only do they have to fit in there, but it has to compress against springs, because the sidebar has to compress inside of the core so that it can rotate inside of the body of the lock. There's a groove inside of the body that the sidebar will fit into, and when it can't compress, the core can't turn. So let's take a look at the core. In the core, you can see the first one, those little fat grooves are not aligned with the side, so the sidebar would not be able to compress inside of it. On this next one, you can see that the pins have been rotated to the correct angles, and now those wide or fatter real grooves, real gates, are aligned with the sidebar, and the little legs that are protruding from our sidebar, which you see right here, can fit inside of those grooves and compress inside of the core, and then you can rotate it. So very, very cool lock. So let's get back to it. We're not going to show you how to rake it. We're not going to do that tedious matrix, picking this thing 64 times. What I've discovered is that there is a very slight discernible difference between the real gate and the false gate. When I take my pick and slide it in there and I put this thing under about moderate tension, I found that when I just mess around with a single pin at a time, when I try to pick it to the correct height, the pin will drag. But as I apply tension, if the tension increases as the pin rises up into that shallow groove, pressing against the leg of the sidebar, that tells me it's probably a false gate, because the side of the leg would not be compressing if I was in the real gate. At that point, you stop, let the pin back down, rotate it from, say, left to center and try the center position. If that doesn't work, then I try it to the right position. One of those three positions, you'll discover that you get absolutely no additional resistance as you push up on the pin, and literally it feels like silk as it kind of glides into place right up until you reach the shear line with that pin. And then you move to the next pin and next pin. Once you've figured out the rotation of each of the pins, then it's time to go back to the beginning, let everything reset, and try to pick it. So enough talking, but I wanted to give you the theory behind this before we tried to demonstrate it. So let's hop to it. Let me clamp this guy. By the way, this is probably a starter switch. It's got an electrical connection on the back here. I got this in a trade. I don't know. It doesn't come apart, so we're not going to be able to gut it without destroying it. I really don't want to do that. I've opened Medecos before, so opening this is not a true claim to fame, I don't think. Anyway, let's get to the theory and see if we can't figure out how to open this thing. All right, let's take a crack at this little guy. I've drawn some lines on there. They're off center now, but when I tension it, I didn't realize this thing's got constant spring pressure on it. So when I've got it against spring pressure, I think you see they all line up pretty good. All right, I'm going to be using this guy. Plenty of room in there. There's no reason not to use him. All right, I'm going to go up to the line and there's barely apply tension. I'm going to go in and find a binder. Okay, that was pin 4. Got a little click, but I'm going to release the tension now because I felt like he was dragging a little bit. Okay, I put him on center in the middle position, got a little click, and I felt a little turn on the core. So let's keep looking, find the next binder, and that would be pin 2. I'm going to go to the left first. Oh, maybe he was the one to bind first. So let's release all tension. Let's try him first because he is going nowhere. Okay, he went left and I got a little click out of it. I'll take it. So let's keep looking. He's still springy. Let's go to the back. Keep looking. All right, I'm still seeing pin 2. So let's let him fall again. Get lined up on him. Again, center. So that did not work. Let's try it again. Let's try the left again. Nice solid click. The other one seems to drag more in the center position. So let's keep looking. Feels like pin 1. I'm not going to mess with him. Let's keep looking in the back. All right, pin 1 is the one. So let's try him. Come on. Okay, I got a click right in the center, a little turn on the core. I'll take it. Move to the back, see if I can find the next binder. I'm on 3. Felt a click, but that felt like a mush. Let's keep going just for the heck of it. Okay, that was 2 again. So he had come back down. All right, let's release everything. All right, we know that 2 is the center, so let's go and get him first. Nice click. Go to pin 1. He also was in the center. Good click. Now we got 2 to worry about. Okay, that was 3. I had a nice click, so I'm just going to try. See if I can find the next one. Come on. I'm just jiggling him back and forth to see if I can get him to figure out where those gates are. Got a little click, so let's just see if maybe one of these others fell back down. So it was center and center, as I recall, and there it is. All right, so it's not going to open all the way. It doesn't look like. If I let it go, it's going to unlock, or it's going to relock. But you can see it is unlocked. I'm going to let it go and lock it back up. So guys, it is possible. It just takes a little bit of practice. Don't get discouraged, as in everything with lockpicking and guitar playing and all those other things that require those fine motor skills. It just takes a little bit of hands-on experience, and you very quickly get the feel of how those pins are oriented, how to turn them, which way they're pointed when you touch them with the tip of your pick. And then, of course, you'll be able to feel the false gates and those real gates. This is definitely the way to go over trying that huge matrix, because try to remember, we'd only have 64 possible combinations on this guy, so it takes a little over an hour. But if this was a 5-pinner, there's 125 combinations or permutations, and on a 6-pinner, there's 216. So try to imagine picking through 216 possible pinnings. That would take forever, and chances of getting it right would be absolutely zero. Anyway, guys, appreciate your time, appreciate your patience. Stay safe, stay legal.